this from social media? Congresswoman Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez is being criticized for invoking the Israel-Hamas war into her Christmas message. She wrote, in part, quote, "In the story of Christmas, Christ was born in modern-day Palestine under the threat of a government engaged in a massacre of innocents. Thousands of years later, right-wing forces are violently occupying Bethlehem as similar stories unfold for today's Palestinians, so much so that the Christian community in Bethlehem has canceled this year's Christmas Eve celebration out of both fear for their safety and respect." Former Arkansas Governor Mike Huckabee joins me now to respond to that. I'm sure you have a lot of thoughts, Governor. What do you think about her Christmas message?
Well, there's a lot to unpack in that, Carly.
Yeah.
First of all, is she not aware that Jesus was Jewish? Is she not aware that the whole term Palestinian meant Jewish people until 1962, when Yasser Arafat co-opted the term and created a nation and made up a people and called them the Palestinians, who previously were Jordanian? Is she aware at all of the fact that when she talks about how Bethlehem is not letting the Christians celebrate Christmas? Back in the 80s, and I was going there since 1973, but in the 80s, up until then, 80% of the population of Bethlehem was Christian. 20% was something else. Now it's 80% Muslim, and there's only about 15% Christian, because the Christians were pretty much burned out and shut down by the radical Muslims who took it over back during the Intifada. So this is a person who is utterly ignorant about what she's talking about, and she may ought to stick to something she knows, like bartending, because for gosh sake, she has no clue about the history of the Middle East, Jesus, the Jewish people, the state of Israel, or virtually anything else that she talked about in her post.
Yeah, she talked about the massacre of innocents without even mentioning October 7th as well. And I understand that you were just in Israel, and you said that 75 days into this war, after October 7th, you could still smell the death of you could still smell death in the air. I mean, how horrible. What was that experience like for you?
Carly, it was one of the most sobering experiences I've ever had in my life. I thought I kind of was prepared for what we would see and hear from the people. We talked to survivors, we talked to families of hostages, to IDF soldiers, spent time with the Prime Minister. But I wasn't prepared for the emotional impact of just seeing firsthand, walking through the village of Kfar Aza, where one of the first waves of the Hamas terrorists came and slaughtered people. I can't describe on television some of the things that were done to innocent people, and I'm talking babies, little children, women, elderly people. It was not just a murder. It was a slaughter, a humiliation, a mutilation of their bodies, and then people from Gaza came over and looted the homes, having to step over the bodies and the body parts of dead Israelis in order to go into their refrigerators, take their food, go into their cupboards and closets and take things, and then go back into Gaza. I mean, it's the most uncivilized act of atrocity that we've probably seen in our lifetime. I mean, just beyond measure. And for anybody to defend this and scream from the river to the sea, it's not just anti-Semitism, it's anti-humanity. Yeah. This is evil in its most grave form.
Yeah, well, a lot of people are shouting from the river to the sea, especially on college campuses. And there is major backlash now happening in Harvard. And apparently, former and current Harvard faculty are now pressuring the members of the Harvard board. It's an 11-member panel called the Harvard Corporation for standing by President Claudine Gay. Several of these faculty members spoke to the Wall Street Journal. One former Harvard Medical School dean says they're under pressure. That's obvious. They are the fiduciary body, and no one will deny that Harvard's reputation has taken a very substantial hit in the world. It's on their watch that this is happening. What do you think is going to happen to Harvard, the future of the university, college campuses in general, because this is happening pretty much across the board, and also what's going to happen to Claudine Gay?
If they don't wake up and find their moral compass, then I would hope parents would say, I may send my kids to a lot of places, including a community college, but I'm not going to waste money sending my kid to a place that will turn him into an idiot. And why would I pay $70,000 plus a year so that my child will end up hating America and being a total dolt when it comes to the realities of history? Yes, they should fire her, but the board ought to resign in disgrace for not having already done it. And they ought to recognize that Harvard's history was that of training Christian ministers. Yeah. I don't think they have a clue what their history was. They certainly aren't living up to it now.
Yeah, I think a lot of parents are going to be thinking twice about sending their kids to Ivy League universities, which is something I never thought I would say. Governor, thank you so much for joining us this morning. We appreciate it, as always. Have a great day.
Thank you, Carly.
I'm Steve Ducey.
I'm Brian Kilmeade.
And I'm Ainsley Earhart. And click here to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page to catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis.